really lucky today. We are with an amazing man I've gotten to know here in the last few days, Lee Cowan from CBS News. What's your favorite interview?
Everyone wants to know what is your best or your favorite. And I really have to come up with a better answer because I don't have one. It's funny, the one that pops to my head that I would love to do is the Pope. I did Lady Gaga. I didn't know what to expect, and she couldn't have been nicer. Mm-hmm. She came in, she knew my name. She knew something about my family. Wow. I mean, she was present and engaged and just lovely.
You know, when I heard that CBS Sunday Morning was interested, I thought, what? I mean, this is big for us. And
do you ever pinch yourself that you're doing this?
I never thought that we'd be here right now.
You wanted it.
Are people interested in all this, you think?
Oh my God, I think, who wouldn't be interested in Sunken Treasure? I think everybody is.
Welcome to The Outdoors with Carl Allen. This is our new podcast. Not that there aren't enough in the world already. I have many very interesting people that will visit me, whether it's about Walker's Cay and our fishing adventures, or our exploration fleet and treasure hunting, or even our land in Tennessee for hunting. So I figured, why not sit down with these folks and let them tell their story? Please tune in, like and subscribe, and follow on all social media platforms. Welcome to another episode of Outdoors with Carl Allen. Made quite a few all of a sudden here now, but we are really lucky today. We are with an amazing man I've gotten to know here in the last few days, Lee Cowan from CBS News correspondent. And rather than me tell about your history, Lee, please tell us a little bit about you and where you came from. Everybody's going to know who you are. You're very recognizable. So it's great to have you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So I'm a correspondent for CBS Sunday Morning, which when I was growing up, that was a show my parents watched, my grandparents watched. It was on every Sunday. It was sort of everybody's church, and I think it still is to some point. And so getting here to work for CBS Sunday Morning was always sort of a goal. 60 Minutes wasn't really one.
Okay.
Sunday Morning was.
Really?
I mean, I wouldn't turn down 60 Minutes, obviously. But when I got into broadcasting by accident, really, I went to the University of Washington and I majored in print journalism because that's what I thought I was going to do. And oddly, we had to get a minor. When you got your degree in communications, you had to get a minor in something else. So I got a minor in political science. And as part of not the communications department, but the poli-sci department, got an internship in Washington. And I'm like, well, the Washington Post, I don't think there were any internships there. The Washington Times, there wasn't anything there. But CBS had an internship. I'm like, well, that sounds kind of cool. So I went my senior year in college and interned at CBS. And
so we're about the same age. What year was that?
It would have been
88?
88. 87 is probably when I did the internship. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Dan Rather was anchoring the CBS Evening News, and, Leslie Stahl was still up there.
Not too far from Walter Cronkite.
It was insane. And, he would come in and anchor sometimes from Washington instead of New York. And it was just like, it was mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, wow, these guys can really, they still write, they do great stuff. And you're in front of the camera. So that's a pretty cool thing. And so I decided, well, maybe this is kind of what I want to do. Anyway, I'm babbling. I'm probably making this way too long, but went back, finished my last quarter of college, and Charlie Rose.
Oh yeah. Jeez.
That Charlie Rose. I ended up getting hired as his administrative assistant.
Did you really? Wow.
And for the show he was doing called Night Watch. Did that for a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I definitely
Yeah, in the middle of the night, right? And he did
Night
all
Watch.
these political interviews. It was great. He did such a good job.
Yep.
He was very good to me, despite all the other stuff out there about him. He was lovely to me. Did that for a little bit. Became they call it a broadcast associate for the CBS Evening News when Dan Rather was still anchoring, and I did that for a little bit. But I knew I was never going to get on camera that way. I'm not going to get on camera at CBS Evening News in Washington. There's no way that's going to happen. So I gave up a pretty good job and a pretty good salary, and left to go to Eureka, California for my first job.
Wow.
And at the time there were about 210 television markets.
Yeah.
Eureka was 197. It was.
Wow.
It was the newsroom was a trailer. It was like a construction trailer, and the studio was kind of a shed. And every time it would rain, and this was Humboldt County, so it rained all the time. People would keep calling in and saying, "I'm hearing static on my set." I'm like, "No, it's just the rain on the roof of the studio. Sorry." So that's how I got my start, and
humble beginnings there, yeah.
And just kept working my way up from a small market to a bigger market to a bigger market, and then finally, ironically, got back to CBS.
I mean, the list of people that you have been with and interviewed, it's amazing. You know, the career that
it's
you've
humbling.
had.
It really is.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I mean, you've been here almost a week. We spent a lot of time together. You said something to me today that blew me away, and I'm still tingling here. We were sitting doing the interview, and you said this is one of the best shoots you've ever done. All your crew nodded in the back.
Yeah.
And I'm just blown away. I mean, I think we created a good episode for you, hopefully, but maybe kind of describe your experience this week. And I mean, your experience and hearing that and what you said about my crew, the dedication that I have, all those compliments. Talk about being humble. I'm Mr. Humble right now. So,
well, I mean, I've had the good fortune to do so many different things. Boats are sort of a passion of mine, even though I don't own one or have never become a captain or anything. Sunken Treasure has always been sort of, a boy. It's everybody's boyhood dream, right? Nobody doesn't have that dream.
Yeah.
But being able to come out and witness something that is truly, you're touching history in a way that a lot of people never get a chance to touch. And it's just remarkable in terms of how delicate it is, how precise it is, how tedious it is. And yet everybody on your team and your crew is so, they're as passionate as you are. Somehow you must be infectious, because whatever you bring to this mission seems like it goes out to every single person who works for you. And nobody, some of these, there's so many stories I've been on, and there's always usually someone you're like, ooh, let's, maybe we don't need to deal with them too much. And, but not this. But it's not, it's not just the story. It's, the people that you surround yourself with are remarkable. And I think if there's one thing I've learned, in having the good fortune to interview a lot of celebrities and politicians and things like that, is, the people around them tell you pretty much everything about the person that you're going to interview.
Really? Really?
It feels that way. There are some people who are a little overly protective, and then you're sort of surprised when you get to interview somebody and they're not that way. But generally, I think whoever it is, if it's a big celebrity, a big politician, big authors, best-selling authors, things like that, the people that are around them, if they're accessible and nice and understand what we do, you always know it's going to go well. You can just tell as soon as you sit down with someone, if their people are good, it'll be a good experience. And this was that times.
I'm gonna go cry for a minute. I'll be right back. Wow, that's neat to hear. Again, you're about the same age, and the experiences that you've had and the people that you've interviewed is mind-boggling. And so to hear that, sincere thank you. We had a special moment last night that I don't usually do that, but I gave you a coin, and you'd mentioned earlier that your son said, "Bring me back a coin, Dad," and you said that to the wrong person. So,
I did, or the right person.
I don't do that very often, but it's to see your interest in what we're doing, and when I heard that CBS Sunday Morning was interested, I thought, what? I mean, this is big for us, and the show no matter what side of the aisle you're on, your show is pure, and it's nobody.
That's so kind of you to say.
It's something you look forward to. I was a big Charles Kuralt fan,
As everybody was. I don't think anybody wasn't.
And you look forward to that show, and you and I talked. You say, "Hey, I stay away from that politics," and it's so nice to hear that, and hopefully that this 4 days we've spent together has been productive, and you got a great episode. I mean, one of the coolest things for me, other than those comments you made, was I wasn't sure you were going to dive. And you came here, and then we were talking on the back of the boat. You said, "Well, I might." And so I put my team into gear, and Porter, I think you're best friends now with Porter.
It was, I hadn't done it in a while. And the last couple of times I did, there wasn't really a dive professional there. It was, we did a little bit on the Great Barrier Reef once, and there wasn't really anybody there. I wasn't weighted right. It didn't work. We were supposed to go look for some shipwrecks actually in Lake Superior.
Wow.
And so I got dry suit certified.
Oh, geez.
And I went to do the final skills in the water before we went on this dive. And I got this crappy, rented dry suit. It was horrible. I get in the water, and just this freezing cold water is just rushing down my back. I'm like, I thought the dry suit was supposed to be dry. Am I supposed to be feeling this?
Jeez.
So I couldn't even finish the certification because the dive suit was just a wreck. And so I never got to actually get my dry suit certification, but I wanted to do it because I thought it'd be cool. But I also I'm such a wimp when it comes to cold water.
I got to tell you a funny story about yesterday, because I don't know if you noticed this, but
did I look like a flailing sea lion?
No. But here's what happened. I go down at first, and you guys were getting settled on. You get your weight right, know your buoyancy right. And I'm sort of digging around, and I didn't realize you guys were going to go down there and do a check dive. And I see you standing there, and all of a sudden I see your regulator go off like this. And I'm like, what? And I start swimming over, and I realized you're doing a little check dive, and I'm like, oh God, it freaked me out, because it was that regulator was out of your mouth for a while.
Yeah, it was.
And you're reaching around like this, and I've got my octopus, and I'm charging towards you. I'm put this.
Were you really? I didn't even
God,
notice.
yeah, I'm behind you. I'm going. I was freaked me out, But I got to tell you something. You come out here. We had luckily a day and a half of weather. Okay.
Yeah. It was a perfect weather window, right?
It was. It was not perfect, but good. I would put that on about an 8 out of 10. Okay.
What would have been better?
Flat.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I got to tell you something. I mean, Lee, there are weeks that a month one time we go out there and find anything. Okay. And you come here, and we drop down, and we find a handful of coins. Mm-hmm. We found 2 beautiful freaking emeralds. We put that, here you are, coming up. Here's Lee coming up now. It was just like, that doesn't happen. Okay. Yeah. It really doesn't, to just drop down like that, have a day and a half to do that. Usually it takes us a few days to get back on the trail, but you're lucky. I mean, my God, there's good and then there's lucky. When you're doing what we do, lucky is a lot more important. So congratulations on that. That's also why I felt good about giving you that coin, because you found one. And this mission that we do every day. It's dangerous. It's hard. The government's on you. The equipment breaks. The people break.
I don't know how you do it. I mean, I was down there, and when you described it as like an English muffin, you're totally right. Like, it's just these little tiny pockets of things, and you just you do just wave your hand over, and I was
Yeah.
surprised at how much sand actually comes out with just one little wave.
Yes.
But you're still, I mean, you've got this. How many? You've got 250 square miles that you're searching.
Yes.
Basically,
I mean, that's 10 lifetimes just with me. So.
right. But I mean, I'm looking at a thing as big as this table, and I don't think I could find something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
I just don't.
It's just pure drive. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's a passion, and what we're doing is controversial, as we've talked about, but it's benefiting this country like you wouldn't believe in all sorts.
Why is it controversial?
You
I know
want-
you're supposed to be interviewing me, and now I'm
No,
interviewing
you're
you. Sorry. I just kicked into professional mode. Sorry.
To believe it or not, I mean, you interviewed Jim Sinclair. I think that was a great interview. If you boil it down to one word, and I hate to say this because I hate the word, and I fought it my whole life. 2 words: jealousy and greed.
Yeah.
You know, those are strong emotions, and you know, people don't like it sometimes when you are lucky. And
Yeah.
but what I'm doing and what my team is doing is we're giving back. Not one artifact has left the country. I mean, I don't need to tell you all that we've done good bringing back the artifacts and stuff. I mean, this is about you. What I'm curious about is this young lad from Utah. My daughter lives in Park City. I've been going to Deer Valley my whole life.
Have you?
I love Utah.
You got to try Alta. Alta's where I
Oh,
always used
are you
to ski.
kidding me? I love Alta. For one reason, they don't let the damn snowboarders out
Yep.
there. You know, there's
Yeah.
only Deer Valley and Alta left. That I remember when the Clintons came and Chelsea, they wouldn't even let her snowboard at Deer Valley. I thought, hey, this is good. You know, but Utah has got the best snow in the world.
It does.
I
It
used
really
to be a
does.
great skier. I love Snow Basin. That's one of my favorite places.
Mm-hmm.
The Olympics were there. I was there during that period. That
Were
was,
ya?
Oh yeah, that was we had. My dad has a house on, or used to have a house on Last Chance, in,
Oh, my
in
gosh.
Deer Valley, and the Olympics went right by us. It
Oh,
was
wow.
one of the best experiences I ever had in my life. But again, just that kind of that story. How does this guy? You went to the University of Washington, but what was the initial thing that got you into broadcasting and come this far? I mean, everybody knows who you are.
I don't think I've ever actually told this story before, but this is embarrassing. But it was actually remember the show Lou Grant?
Oh hell yeah, absolutely. I mean, my God.
So for listeners who don't know, so Lou Grant was essentially a show where Ed Asner, who used to play the news director on the Mary Tyler Moore Show,
Oh yeah.
he's now sort of also the news director. Or I guess, yeah, he was the Washington. No. I'm sorry, that's not right. He wasn't there. It was who played Mrs. Pinchon. Remember her?
Oh yeah.
Whoever that woman was who owned. Anyway,
Oh, man.
stupid. That's crazy. No one's gonna know any of these
This
obscure
is my
references.
second drink. I don't know. So-
Anyway, it was this show about 2 newspaper reporters, and they were just doing their thing. And I thought, wow, they get to write and they get to travel, and they get to meet interesting people. To the point that I would watch this show, and they would always they'd show all these newsroom scenes, and they would drink coffee out of styrofoam cups.
Sure.
So this is when I was like in junior high school. My mom would make me a cup of coffee, and I would pour it into a styrofoam cup, and I would
no.
watch this stupid TV show, pretending that I was like all, this is going to put hair on my chest. I'm going to drink coffee out of a styrofoam cup, and I'm going to be a real reporter.
Now you're a man.
Yeah, exactly. But I started doing it in high school. I remember I went to a Catholic high school in Salt Lake City, which is a rarity. To say
So
the
you are
least.
Catholic.
I'm Episcopalian,
Oh,
but
Catholic educated.
Catholic educated
Wow.
because it was Episcopalians are sort of Catholic light, I
Ah.
think, and it was the closest we could get. I think my mom, who was she was Episcopalian. I think she really wanted me to have that experience. I think,
Yeah.
and it was strange in a lot of ways growing up in Salt Lake, not being a Mormon, and yet growing up there was a fantastic place because
Yeah.
the Mormons are so family oriented.
Yes. Very honest and nice, and
Yep.
just you can trust them
To a fault,
Yes, to a
almost.
fault.
Yeah. And so it was a wonderful upbringing. And, back then, so I started skiing, I guess, when I was probably 5th or 6th grade.
Wow.
We could leave our house at 8 in the morning and be skiing at Alta at 8:30.
That's incredible.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I think an all-day pass when I started skiing was
Six
probably
bucks.
it was probably, I think
Yeah.
I think it was like $8 or $16 bucks.
I remember that.
Yeah. And my dad's whole, like, he judged the ski day by how many runs we got in. And he would count, you know. So if you only got, 8 runs in a day, it wasn't a good day. But if you could get like 16 runs in, then it was a good day.
Now we've gone high tech. We've gone with the watches and we do altitude. You know, my son's like, well,
is that right?
We haven't done 80,000 feet today, Dad. We can get another couple runs in, you know. But wow.
My dad, he passed a couple of years ago, last year, actually.
Last year.
The last time we went skiing, he was 75.
Wow.
No, he was 80. He had just turned 80.
Skiing at 80.
He goes up to Alta. My brother went skiing with him. He's like, come on, Dad, you're still, you can still go skiing. He goes up to the ticket window to buy his lift pass.
Oh, no.
And they're like, how old are you? And he said, well, I'm 80. He goes, you don't have to pay anything. If you're 80 and you're skiing,
you're welcome.
Go for it.
Come on, buddy.
It was great.
That's
it was he still talked about that for years and years after. He thought that was the best thing.
I could just see that scene at Alta too. But
yep.
Well, listen, one of the things that ever since I've studied you and I knew you were coming, I got to ask you this question. What's your favorite interview? Other than me, of course.
Right.
What's, really sticks out in your mind? Is it a politics? Is it sports, science? What is it?
It's the most asked question I get.
Is it really?
Yep.
Okay.
Everyone wants to know what is your best or your favorite. And I really have to come up with a better answer because I don't have one. And I'm not trying to dodge it.
Wait, different way. What's the first one that pops to your head? Well, I remember that.
It's funny. The one that pops to my head that I would love to do is the Pope. I don't know why. I just think
Have you done the Pope?
No, I've never done the Pope.
Okay.
I don't think the Pope ever would do. I don't think popes really do.
I've always wondered if popes shit in the woods, but that's just me. I mean, I'm Catholic, so
only by a Catholic bear.
Yes,
I think.
Thank you.
No, I mean, like there's so many different categories. So there's like.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
You interviewed Madonna.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you did.
Nope. I did Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga. I'm sorry. Why did I say Madonna? I meant Lady Gaga.
I did her twice.
You did Lady Gaga twice?
Interviewed.
Oh,
her.
I'm sorry.
Let's be clear.
Wow. Jeez. Okay. Well,
but the first time we did it, she was so sweet. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, and she couldn't have been nicer.
Mm-hmm.
She came in. She knew my name. She knew something about my family.
Wow.
I mean, she like was present and engaged and just lovely.
That's a sign of a good person.
Yeah,
it really is.
No, I think it is.
She's concerned that hey, I want to know you.
Yeah.
As well. So
and there are plenty of people who I've gone in and done interviews with, and they don't know my name. They don't even know the name of the show. Like they just know that their publicist said, "You got to go do an interview," and they sit down and they. Most of them are pretty good. They turn it on for the camera. There's one person who I won't say who it is, but she came into the room and he couldn't have been colder. But as soon as we started the interview, man, they brought it. Like they were just there. Yeah. And as soon as we had to change tape, it was done. She's on the phone. And then we went back, and it was just a really strange. And the interview didn't go well because I could feel that, right? I could tell that we weren't really connected.
Okay.
And that happens. You don't get connected with everybody, but back to Lady Gaga, she was lovely and fantastic, and we asked her. I said, well, we need some pictures of you doing something. This was in New York, so she.
I know the feeling, by the way.
She decides to go get. We walk over. We were doing the interview at her family restaurant in New York. Her dad, I think it's her dad's restaurant or her mom's restaurant. I can't remember. You should probably fact check that. I'm not sure what. But anyway, we were doing the interview at a restaurant. We walk over to Central Park with her, and it becomes a scene, a complete scene.
I can only imagine, yeah.
Just embraced it. She took a guy's bike. She goes, "Do you mind if I hop on your bike?" This random person was riding a bike through Central Park. She hops on the bike, and she's in this pink dress and this pink hat, and it was for that I can't remember that Joanne, what I think was the name of the album. And she was lovely with her fans. She did not turn anybody down for interviews. I mean, for autographs.
Mm-hmm.
She was a lovely, lovely person.
Yeah.
So that's one I remember, just because I actually felt like I left and, felt like we got something.
Well, my closest connection to Lady Gaga is I rented a home called Nandana on the West End down here.
Mm-hmm.
And when I checked in, the owner of the house said, "Oh, by the way, Lady Gaga slept here last night." And that's the closest we've ever been. And so congratulations. Okay, what about heads of state, politicians? What's your favorite one there, you think?
Well, so I left CBS. I went to NBC for a bit, and I loved NBC. It's where I met my wife.
Sure.
But for whatever reason, they decided they wanted me to do the Obama campaign in 2008.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I said no.
Yeah.
I said I don't do politics. I don't think that this is. I'm not up for this. And God bless him, Tim Russert, rest his soul.
Yeah.
We met at a coffee place, and he says, I said, "Look, Tim, I didn't even call him Tim. I think I called him Mr. I'm sure I called him Mr. Russert." I said, "I don't do politics. I'm not
so
good at that.
Perfect for that.
I'm not good. I just don't know." And he said,
Yeah.
"Well, Barack Obama is sort of a candidate who's not of politics. And so we want someone who's not in Washington to cover him."
Makes sense, yeah.
So I said, "Well, okay." I think, honestly, they didn't think I don't think they thought Obama was going to get as far as he did. So
Yeah.
I think they thought,
I don't think a lot of people did, yeah.
I think it was, they put their lead people on Hillary. But I was outmatched. I mean, it was way above my head. I was competing with Jake Tapper was my competition.
Oh, yeah. My God.
And he smoked me almost every day.
Right.
But it was, I wish now that I had done it at my age now, because I would have appreciated the moment.
Yeah.
The gravity of the moment, not just because he was the first, black nominee, but because the whole primary battle between him and Hillary was so fascinating and so revealed so much, I think, about where we stood at that time in politics. It seemed like such a kinder time, didn't it?
It did. We don't. I remember the days of Reagan and Tip O'Neill. Those,
right.
And we don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing experience, and we went all the way, obviously, to the end. And they offered the White House job. They said, "Do you want to do the White House?"
Did they really? Wow.
And I said, I know I'm stupid, but no, I'm just not. I just don't think I could do. I mean, I think you have to eat, sleep, and breathe that stuff.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't that person. I could eat, sleep, and breathe.
No.
These kind of stories.
Yeah.
Which is what is great about Sunday Morning. But yeah, politics was tough, and I never realized until that point, I think, the vitriol that is involved in politics. Like the social media was so intense and so biting and so harsh. No matter what you did, there was no winning. And for God bless them, people do that and they can tune that out. I couldn't. Because I'm a kind of person who, if I look at comments on a story I did, there could be 200 pleasant comments about what I did. There'll be one that said I didn't do a good job, and that's the only one I focus on, is that one. I forget all the other...
Okay, we have that same disease. I do the same thing. And, you are that man, and you're so sincere. I mean, we spent the last 4 or 5 days together now, and Lee, you're one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Oh,
and
it's been
a treasure to have you here, and giving you that coin last night. It really meant a lot to me, and we hope to have you back. What's the future of you? What do you see yourself doing? Continuing Sunday Morning, and anything else we can look forward to?
Yeah, I think once you get to a certain level, and I don't mean status level, but I think once you get to a show that you love, whether it's 60 Minutes or Sunday Morning or Nightline or Dateline or whatever it is, there's not a lot of options, right? So
Yeah.
I spent so much of my career trying to figure out how you get up the ladder.
Yeah.
And then once you sort of get to the top few rungs,
Yeah.
there's not anywhere else to go.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I would love to fill in for Jane more. I think, she's wonderful. I would love to do that
Yeah,
more.
tell me about that real quick. 'Cause I'd love to meet her. So I mean, I grew up with her, and
Yeah.
is she sincere like
Yep,
you?
she's everything, her fans think she is. She's
that right?
lovely and sweet and sincere and
Yeah.
committed to doing
Yeah.
a good job.
Yeah.
Humble. She's not, one
And
of
she's a
those
fighter.
over the top.
My God, she's
Yeah.
been through a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that her voice is so
Yeah.
like yours. It's famous.
Yeah. But I don't know, having kids, I'm sure you went through the
Yeah,
same
you
thing.
have
It
a
sort of
lovely
changes.
life. How long you been married?
So I've been married coming up on, oh my God.
Hang in there now.
Get this
Yeah,
right.
uh-oh.
13 years.
Breakdown.
Houston, we have a problem.
I am sorry, Mrs. Cowan. We have a problem here. Houston.
No, we're coming up on 11 years.
Wonderful.
So the story is that I think you wanted me to get to at some point, but so when I was going to college at the University of Washington, it's when the Challenger blew up, sadly.
I remember I was in college too at Villanova.
Yeah. And I remember watching it, and I was living in a tiny little apartment, and I walked over to my buddy's place who was living in a house. And I said, man, like we can't leave. Like the Challenger just blew up. This is awful. So we sat down. We didn't go to class that day. Sorry, all my communication professors. And this guy named John Palmer was anchoring the coverage, the special event coverage. And I remember as clear as day turning to my friend, Pete, and I said, see that guy, that's what I want to do. Like look at him. He was so dignified and so classy and just didn't stumble. He just, and he captured it all. Anyway, fast forward 30 years, I guess. I'm working at NBC, and we go to this ridiculous story. The balloon, we call it the Balloon Boy story in our house. I don't remember if anybody remembers it. This Balloon Boy.
I absolutely remember it. Yes.
So it was this, for those who don't know, it was this family in Colorado who said that they had that their son had climbed into this homemade balloon and somehow the balloon had lifted off and it started flying all over Colorado. And all the local news choppers were up and they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? There's a kid in this balloon and it's heading toward like power lines. And like, what are we going to do? Anyway, turns out to be a hoax. They were trying to get a reality show. The kid was never in the balloon. He was hiding in the attic, everything. But that's where I met my wife, is on this story. We were sitting outside this guy's house waiting for him to do press conferences and waiting for him to come and go and things like that. So we start dating and everything's fine and, everything's going great. And then I come to find out she never said a word. She never said anything about her dad. Nothing. I had no idea. I never really asked, I guess. And so I come to find out that her dad is the John Palmer.
That's amazing.
He covered Lebanon, he covered the White House, and he covered the Challenger. And I'm like, wait, your dad is John Palmer?
Yeah.
So then it becomes this whole separate thing where I'm like, wait, so I think we want to be together, but now I'm going to have to go meet your dad. It's not just meeting your dad. I have to meet John Palmer, who I watched in college.
Great.
Just like, oh my God.
Hello, sir.
And he couldn't have been he was lovely. He was sweet.
That's awesome.
He gave me a lot of advice. We lost him too soon, but he was a fantastic person. He really was.
That's a neat story. And so you have 2 young children, I believe.
2 young kids, Harry and Kevin. Harry's 4, Kevin is 6. So I started a little late, and a buddy of mine who actually I was on the Obama campaign with, he's a producer. We were talking the other day, and he started late too. He said, I I think I realized why people had kids at younger ages, because this is hard.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about this, but my grandchildren are older than your kids.
See? I know.
We took a different path in life.
I got a lot of working to do left in my life. Retirement is not anywhere in the future. I don't think.
My gosh.
But they're great. I mean, they're two lovely,
Well,
sweet boys.
I would love sometime to meet your family. Now we've become friends. You got to come back here sometime. They would
absolutely go crazy. They would.
Yeah.
They would love it. They'd love Cash. They'd love the.
Oh yeah, they'd love Cash.
Yeah.
It's Cash is probably going to get us the awards. Speaking of that, I after everybody was so excited and thinking this was your best episode and all that, I've been working on my Emmy acceptance speech.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And I was hoping maybe we could coach me through that a little bit. I'm going to thank my mom and my dad. Of course, a couple of teachers I had in grade school that thought I would never freaking make it, and I did. But I think it's an Emmy. It's not an Oscar, right?
No, it would be an Emmy.
It would be an Emmy. Okay.
Yeah.
Grammys that's music.
Grammys are music.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm new to this whole thing. But, I cannot wait. I guess our episode is coming out in a few weeks, which you guys work fast.
Well, yeah, if I can get my...
Because you're actually the writer as well, right?
Yeah, it's sort of my favorite part.
Is it really?
The TV part sometimes is still awkward. It's still awkward.
Great.
It really is. It's just I feel weird
okay, Carl,
sometimes.
move to the left. You're done. It's like,
it's hard sometimes. But sitting down and going through all the stuff that you and I talked about, looking at all the footage, and we've got so much between all the stuff that you guys helped us with for the drone, all the underwater footage that you guys shot for us. Yeah. I've got hours and hours of stuff to go look through.
I mean,
to find like
speaking of that,
nuggets.
do you think we have something a little more here, maybe that a docuseries or what? What do you think? You've spent a week with us. You've seen everything we do. We've got this tree with a bunch of leaves on it, and are people interested in all this? You think?
Oh my God! I think who wouldn't be interested in sunken treasure? I think everybody is, and if you're doing it like you say, in a way that is an actual historic preservation kind of operation, and not just we're going to go get the gold chain and put it at Christie's for whatever. I think that's totally different. That's not what most people think of it, and so I think. I'm sure I asked you today, what you thought of the term treasure hunter. It's kind of, it doesn't have the best connotation, right? It's a bit pejorative, I guess. Right. But you might be changing that, I think, because of the way you're doing it.
Trying to.
Yes. And if I think, again, this is a totally new world, but I think that the way, up until recently, people were treating the Titanic was an archeological site. Now it's become a bit more of a tourist thing, which I think is weird. Yeah. And inappropriate.
You have to have a little money, but you can do it.
Yeah. But you're not doing that. And I think you're, like you said, when we talked about, you're always still thinking about the 600 plus people who died. Yeah. And what that night must have been like for them. And so I think that matters a lot, because it's not, the idea of treasure hunting, even my idea of growing up of treasure hunting, was you just find this stuff, right? And you don't think about anything. Yeah. And we were talking to your marine archaeologist today, Jim, wonderful guy, the fact that he is sort of, he's not going to be not enamored by the treasure. He is. Right. But he said it's the larger picture. He doesn't really focus on the brooch that you found, which is amazing, other than the historical impact of the brooch, and who owned it and where it came from and how it got there. So that's a totally different.
He's a lying, greedy bastard. No, I didn't mean that, but I hear you. It's I tell you, Jim and I, we could sit in a room and talk about a piece of pottery for an hour and a half. It's having these archaeologists out here, and especially him and Michael having so much experience. I mean, we can literally bring them something that they've seen before, and have an instant encyclopedia telling you about it. And
do you ever pinch yourself that you're doing this?
Oh, God, yeah. I never thought. I mean, I always planned it, and you get there, and then, oh my God, finding this stuff. No, I never thought that we'd be here.
You wanted it.
Yes, and I'll tell you, this is a business where, I wake up every morning, I look at the horizon, and which direction is the cloud of dust coming at me?
Yeah.
Okay, it's that hard sometimes, and to be successful and prove that we were right, and that we're still doing that. It's hard to put into words, And I'm not a vindictive vengeance guy, but there's a lot of people that thought that I was a fool, and now they're not saying that anymore. Yeah. So,
can I ask about the number 7? I know I'm not supposed to be asking.
Oh my God!
What is the deal with numerology?
Everything in my life. I was born on the 7th. I got the license on the 7th.
That's wild.
My son Thomas was born on the 27th. The 27th parallel with growing up at Stewart, Walker's, finding the Maravilla at the 27th. We've been doing this for 5 years, and it's 2023. Add those numbers together.
Yep, exactly.
This is our year. It's all about that number, and I'm a weird believer in that kind of stuff. And
are you superstitious?
Oh yeah, definitely. This stuff out here is very superstitious, and I think it's going to happen. Number 7, 2023. I have 4 kids and 3 granddaughters. What does that add up to?
That's crazy.
It's nuts. It just keeps going, and I think this is it. But listen, you have been an absolute, and your team, I got to tell you, those folks that you brought, there's only a small group we'd be. And now when I watch these shows, I'm like, man, I know what it takes to make these things now.
They are a pain in the ass.
Not bad, and you know what? I got to go to bat for your sound guy. They don't get enough credit.
They do not.
Poor
You're
guy,
right. That's true. Poor guy sits in the background.
And he carries that thing. He looks like he's pregnant all damn day. And it's...
our joke about sound guys is that they're supposed to record sound, not make it. So, which is not very nice. But
That's right.
But it's true. It's true.
But it's been a real pleasure, Lee, and again, I hope to have you back, and we're going to keep finding stuff. So, a follow-up, and if I ever do find the Motherlode or the Madonna, I want you there, sir.
Oh, I would be here in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you have been a tremendous pleasure. My crew loves you, and you are exactly how I hoped you would be. Thank you, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. You guys the same way. We have never had an experience like this with the crew. Everybody, it's just it was.
God, here you go again.
No, really, it's just like it's just a lovely experience all the way around.
I tell you melted me on the beach that day. I almost couldn't talk after that. I almost had to take a walk. But thank you for that. I have given high accolades to my crews, and they are so excited that this stuff is happening, and it really matters to us because we work so hard, and a little bit of glamour. This business is 99.9 hard work, 0.01 glamour, and we're getting a little bit with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Wonderful to have you, sir.
Thanks for having me aboard.